Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready.
This is definitely a video that's going to be hard to do. But you are right, it is on a system by system basis. In my system, yes, I would consider that cheating. However, I have seen systems that have had multiple partners, but it's that specific alter that has the partner. So mind-wise, they are a one-person relationship. Sorry, I can't remember the word for it. But their body would technically be a multi-relationship, or polyamorous, I think it's called. So like, if you actually really think about it, the mind is dating different people because there are different people. But since there's only one body, that one body is being shared throughout the rest of those people. And I'm not here saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, that's your business. Go for it. Get it. Do what makes you happy and the rest of your systems happy. I meant to say alters. The point being, though, is don't bash on people that want to have multiple relationships because they have multiple alters. It is different for each individual person, which is what makes questions like these hard to answer. But the fact that you were even saying that maybe it's different for everybody else tells me that you have the thought process to understand that yes, it is different. So thank you for that, and also thank you for being respectful. But regarding Marvel, that's completely up to Steven and Mark and whoever else is in their system. Although based on what I've seen with the show, I'm pretty sure Steven does not mind that his alter Mark is married.
You know, when girls walk around thinking they're so hot, it's just like, I am so glad you were able to overcome the patriarchal, institutionalized brainwash that makes women hate themselves from a young age in order to capitalize on their insecurities and keep them submissive. You are fucking hot.
Anyone else think about how Audrey Hepburn and Twiggy kind of paved the way to heroin chic in the 1990s and early aughts? Both of them grew up during a time of rationing in Europe because the actual Nazi strategy was to try and starve out their enemies. Like, their bodies were not destined to be that small. Their bodies are that small because they weren't getting enough food during key developmental times of their lives. They might have been born far apart from each other, but the rationing in the UK lasted well into the 50s. And then the fashion industry just picked them up and was like, this is the ideal body type. And we've continued running with that body type, despite the fact that it's completely based off of malnourished, wartime, rationing systems. Like, what?
Hey, guys.
Shut the fuck up!
Fuck you!
Shut up! Jesus!
Fucking stop!
I hate you!
I had to work hard to overcome the beliefs I had about my body being better when it was smaller. Beliefs that I'd strengthened by losing 70 pounds and actually becoming happier. I attributed that happiness to my health, my energy, and that was true. I really did feel great. I also felt hotter than I ever had in my life. Thick enough in all the right places that the boys on Tinder loved, enough belly left to still be relatable and real to women online, while small enough to shop in stores whose sizes didn't start at extra large. I thought I'd found the sweet spot. But I was absolutely terrified of gaining weight back. I put so much pressure on avoiding that eventually I cracked. I had to let it the fuck go. I gained it back, and the reality is I do miss feeling strong and energized. I miss not worrying about whether my hips will fit into the small weird seat at trendy restaurants. But I'm still happy, and in some ways I'm happier. I needed to learn I could be happy at this size too, and that weight loss didn't make me happy, I did. Follow me for more.
Recently got top surgery, and today was the first day in California where it was 95 degrees. Yes, that is fucking hot, especially for this time of year. Bonuses of not having boobs: no boob sweat. No boob sweat. No boobs equals no sweat. On a side note, I wish I could just like switch body parts with people. So like people who want boobs can have or could have had my boobs, and then I could like take their flat chest. Like, can we make that work somehow? Just, random trans thoughts. Have a good day, and I hope you don't have any boob sweat.
Girls don't want flowers for Valentine's Day. We want cows.
I roll with a crew of problematic bachelors, and we call ourselves the Squad.
Feminism inherently is supporting the freedom of women to make choices and decisions about their lives and their bodies.
As each year goes by, I find it increasingly amazing that people still talk about feminism this way, because I feel like we've had this conversation so many times over the past decade at least. Feminism is not about individual choice or personal validation, it's a political movement. Specifically, a movement to liberate women and other gender-oppressed people from capitalist, white supremacist heteropatriarchy. While it is true that feminism does not seek to prevent women from doing things like shaving or being a stay-at-home mom or whatever, it does ask us to meaningfully interrogate the influences and institutions behind those decisions, even if they are freely made. For example, when it comes to shaving, feminism asks us to question why it is that the removal of body hair is such a gendered practice. What kind of beauty standards exist that make it so that women feel like they have to shave in order to feel pretty? How do those beauty standards differently affect the way we view body hair on women of color? And how does all of this tie back into capitalism through things like the pink tax? Framing feminism as uncritical notions of support turns it into an individualist project for self-help and self-affirmation, instead of the mass movement of political struggle that it has been and should be. And it's important to recognize that this concept of choice feminism is actually a fairly recent phenomenon. Some have described it as the result of the neoliberalization of feminism, in which feminism has adopted some of the characteristics of capitalist ideology, specifically hyper-individualism and personal empowerment. This serves as a way to remove the metaphorical teeth of feminism, take what should be a threat towards the system and reorient it towards values that ultimately uphold it. Individualism and personal freedom in the form of choice feminism fit this project perfectly, because it aligns with neoliberal capitalism's ideal self-made subject, who seeks nothing more than to improve her own personal social position and feel good about herself. In this scenario, there's no need for feminism to question the pervasiveness of oppressive institutions in our daily lives, because its entire focus is all about supporting personal decisions. And that's exactly why this issue needs to be called out, critiqued, and overcome. If we are interested in the social meaning of feminist emancipatory potential, if we are to deal with feminism as a collectively oriented movement and political theory, then it becomes clear that feminism is not and cannot be a collection of different, scattered individual positions. The problem we are tackling here is the scope of individualism. If we stick with the descriptive approach to individual experiences and the motto, choose to do whatever you want, it's empowering, then we lose from sight the systemic sources of oppression and the power of articulating socially responsible collective practices as a vehicle for emancipatory potential. After all, we need to remember that in the capitalist mode of production, one's personal freedom often comes at the expense of another's. Here's some further reading on the neoliberalization of feminism. I also have some videos on my page about it if you want to scroll through it.
No Nuance November, let's go. If you think sex workers sell their bodies but coal miners don't, your view of labor is clouded by your moralistic view of sexuality. Veganism isn't ethical if you're hurting yourself to save something else. Your brain, just your brain, needs the carbohydrate equivalent of 3 cups of pasta to function normally. I think it's weird when qualitative researchers use the term lived experience. Have you ever had an experience that wasn't lived? 30 million Americans have diabetes and 30 million Americans have eating disorders. Which one does your doctor warn you about?
This is just a reminder that fat people can have eating disorders too.
Girls, are you okay? Do you need assistance? Who hurt you?
Who raised you? You really should have stayed home with your snarkiness. I'm gonna try to go easy because you seem young and a little lost. In your video, you talked about how women's bars on the floor and proceeded to ask girls, are you okay? Number 1, when you're addressing women, do not ever call us girls again. Number 2, you should look up male savior complex. You have it. I hate to break it to you, but women do not need your assistance. You need help in understanding how to empathize with half the population, how to advocate for people who do not share your experience, how to care about other people, how not to be disrespectful, how to be an adult, and how to lead. You and your fellow men should be getting help in all of those departments from women. Stop addressing women as if we're damsels in distress, and start recognizing that men need assistance. The fact that your response to realizing that women's bars on the floor was to ask women who hurt them, rather than turning to your fellow men and say, can we do better, is your misogyny. Do not ever speak to women that way again. Address your fellow men or go home.
Hi there. Are you an anti-vaxxer? Do you work in a childcare facility? Do you work in one specifically in Washington State? Are you trying to recall the Governor Inslee, because you're gonna have to be vaccinated by October? Well, I understand your choice of freedom over the vaccine, but I'd like to let you know that you are responsible to care for children. That's why you work at a child care facility. And caring for children means doing anything you can to help them not get COVID. And if this message doesn't hit you right in the heart, fuck off.
The most terrible thing about pornography is that it tells male truth. The most insidious thing about pornography is that it tells male truth as it were universal truth. Those depictions of women in chains being tortured are supposed to represent our deepest erotic aspirations, and some of us believe it, don't we? The most important thing about pornography is the fact that the values in it are common values of men. This is the crucial fact that both the male right and the male left, in their different but mutually reinforcing ways, want to keep hidden from women. The male right wants to hide the pornography, and the male left wants to hide its meaning. Both want access to pornography so that men can be encouraged and energized by it. The right wants secret access, the left wants public access. But whether we see the pornography or not, the values expressed in it are the values expressed in the act of rape and wife-beating, in the legal system, in religion, in art and literature.